I'm still buzzing when I wheel the van onto Philadelphia. In another world, maybe one where it's not 2 in the morning, I might have been humming Walking on Air. What do they say in those romance movies? Guys like you. That's not the line, but it's what Paige had said. Like it was a compliment, guys like you. I give myself a shake, pulling into the gravel drive in front of the house. Focus up, Munson. Get some sleep. You're spinning out. But that's easier said than done. Because as I swing the car door open and jump out onto the grass, I catch a glimpse of something that sends my heart swan diving into my stomach. The kitchen light is on, glowing dimly through the crack in the curtains when I know it shouldn't be. But this isn't what has me so on edge. That honor goes to the 2 pairs of boots just beside the front door. One set is old, but spotless, lined up against the wall with careful precision. The other is muddy, discarded, left boot slumped to the side. It's that pair that's messing with my blood pressure. I know those boots. I've watched them walk out of my life more times than I can count. My first instinct is to bust in the front door as fast as I can. But I'm not going to give those boots the satisfaction of hurrying me along. So I take my time gathering my guitar from the back of the van, slinging the strap over my shoulder, and trudging up the steps to the front door. Dad is taking up both kitchen chairs when I stomp in, slouched low on one with socked feet slung up on the other. There's a can of SpaghettiOs on the table in front of him, a spoon sticking out of it. He hasn't even bothered to twist off the sliced open top of the can. It flares to the side like a razor-edged petal, guarding what was supposed to be my dinner. My Uncle Wayne hasn't bothered to fight for a seat. He's leaning against the counter, hands shoved deep into his pockets, a plastic bag of groceries slouched on the ground at his feet. It's not an uncommon sight. Wayne has a pet theory that I can't feed myself, so every 2 weeks or so, I'll come home to him, shoving microwave dinners and canned soup onto the cluttered shelves and into the moldy refrigerator.
There he is,
Dad exclaims at the side of me, swinging his legs off the chair. Wayne just nods in my direction, not taking his eyes off Dad.
Eddie?
He says. He's never been quick with a smile, but now he's wearing the deeply etched frown he only ever breaks out for his brother.
No hello for your old man?
Dad asks. And I realized I've been standing in the doorway glaring at him for the better part of 20 seconds. When did you get in? I ask.
A couple hours ago, traffic on I-80 was a bitch.
Joliet?
Who said anything about Joliet? Maybe I was in Chicago.
State pens in Joliet.
Wayne says. Dad sticks his tongue out at his brother.
Yeah, of little faith.
He stands, opening his arms.
How about a hug?
I should feel more reluctance as I pace obligingly forward. I should turn the other direction, get back in my van, and drive into the night. This story always starts the same way, with a hug that smells like leather and cigarettes and drugstore cologne. It always ends the same way, too. I hug him.
Good to see you, kid.
He says, thumping my back a few times for good measure.
I missed you.
Not enough to call, I think, then. Why the hell not? Not enough to call? He backs up, holding me at arm's length.
You're too smart to need me hovering around, right, Wayne?
Wayne just moves his steady gaze from Dad to me.
I brought you groceries.
He says.
Groceries?
Dad flicks the lid of the SpaghettiOs can, sending flecks of sauce splattering across the kitchen table.
It's a miracle you don't have scurvy if this shit's what you've been eating.
Thanks, I tell Wayne.
Remind me to make you a real meal?
Dad barrels on.
We'll hit the big buy. Stock up on some seasonings, sugar, flour. Ingredients. You remember ingredients, Wayne?
His teasing smile invites me to join in, to laugh at my uncle just like him. And to be honest, it's difficult to resist. But I swallow back the impulse and force myself to study his face. Dad doesn't roll into Hawkins unless he's got a reason, and his reasons tend to detonate. The sooner I figure out what's driving him this time, the sooner I can get out of the blast radius. How long are you staying this time? Dad rolls his eyes.
You've been spending too much time with your uncle. You sound just like him. How long this time? How long this time?
Wayne's shoulders are tight.
How long, Al?
Dad shrugs.
I don't know.
At least he's being honest. If he'd said something like, I'm sticking around, I'd have kicked him out the door. Great. I bite out, grabbing a beer from the fridge. Normally, I don't like to drink after shifts at the hideout, since the sticky smell of spilled bud is already ground into my pores. But it's feeling like tonight is an exception.
Eddie,
Get your own beer, I say, slamming the refrigerator shut and turning back to face him. But the look on his face draws me up short. Al Munson is a guy who takes up space. Air, attention, the second kitchen chair. If it's available, it's his. But the real Munson magic is how hard it is to hate him for this. He could steal a kiss off a biker's girlfriend and still end the night playing pool with the guy. He's got a smile for everybody. Charm out the ass. I've even seen him make hard-ass Chief Hopper laugh. You meet Al Munson, you can't help but love him. I inherited his hair, his van, and his guitar picks. But nobody's loving Eddie Munson on sight. Which is why it shocks me when I realize that the Al Munson standing in my kitchen right now looks honest to God small. There are cracks in his winning grin. His Munson magic is flickering. He hasn't stopped studying the ceiling. He won't meet my eyes. Uncle Wayne hasn't missed it either. He's shooting me a warning glance like he knows what's coming. Because, of course, he does. He's done this dance more times than even I have.
it's getting pretty late, Wayne.
Dad says.
Think you should be heading home.
There's a muscle in Wayne's jaw that's winched tight enough to snap. It takes him a few seconds, but he finally unhooks his teeth enough to say,
Room's all set up at the trailer if you need it, Eddie.
I shake my head. I won't. Wayne screws his ball cap down around his ears and stalks towards the front door.
See you around, Al.
Dad gives him a mocking little salute.
I'm sure you will.
Then the door is swinging shut. And it's just me and Dad. Together in the kitchen for the first time in over a year. He shakes his head,
Can you believe we're related to such a goddamn stick in the mud?
but I'm not so easily distracted, especially not when there's still trouble written all over Dad's face. What happened? Dad takes a deep, shuddering breath.
I fucked up.
There it is, the reason. Cops? He shakes his head.
I made a few miscalculations, borrowed some money from the wrong people. Now they want it back.
I set my beer down on the counter. What money?
Would you believe me if I said I gave it away to a good cause?
There's a sparkle of humor in his eyes, just for a moment. Donated to a starving widow and her 3 kids? I just look at him, and that sparkle fades.
Didn't think so. Fine. It's just a gambling debt. I just got out of a 2-month stay behind bars at the FCI in Colorado. Frankie and his boys picked me up, and we were gonna blow off some steam. Hit a casino.
He smiles at me, kind of pale.
I guess the casino hit me back.
How much?
10 grand.
My pulse roars in my ears. Jesus, Dad.
I know, but listen.
Who are these people? Are they coming after you? If they followed him all the way to Hawkins, does that mean I'm in the crosshairs? And if I'm in the crosshairs, is Wayne? Is Ronnie? What's the outer range on this shrapnel? Are they coming here?
Listen.
He takes a step forward, hand on my shoulder. It's steady and sure, in a way that his grin wasn't. And I can feel my pulse start to slow.
They won't come anywhere near us, I promise.
Do you have $10,000 lying around that I don't know about?
Not yet, but I will.
Dad plucks my beer off the counter before I can protest, but he doesn't drink. Instead, he presses it into my hands, wrapping my fingers around the cold glass.
Come on, sit down a second.
I do, scraping back the chair he had been using as a footstool. He sits across from me so he can look me dead in the eye.
There's a truck leaving Pine Meadow, Oregon in just a few weeks.
He says,
It'll be doing the full cross-country pulling into Baltimore about 2 days later.
this is starting to feel like math class.
Then raise your hand if you've got something to say.
Dad shoots back and I can't help but laugh. The Munson magic never fails.
Now this truck, the thing about this truck is is what's on it.
He leans both elbows on the table, slouching closer.
$1 million worth of homegrown weed, all wrapped up and ready for distribution across the eastern seaboard.
The roar in my ears is back. I stare at him. You want to steal $1 million of... Dad laughs, like I'm the one saying crazy shit in this kitchen.
Are you kidding? Even if I could turn that shit around, what would I do with $1 million? No. I'm just talking about taking enough to cover this debt. With a pie as big as this one, no one's gonna notice if a little tiny slice is missing.
A $10,000 slice, I mutter.
Well,
Dad is watching me intently.
what do you think?
I think nothing I say is gonna make much of a difference here. I toast him with my bottle. So knock yourself out,
No, kid, you're not listening.
Dad says.
This job, it's not something I can pull off by myself. I need another set of hands. I need you.
There's a numbness spreading through me that has nothing to do with the late hour or the few sips of bargain beer running through my system. This is why the sight of his boots had sent my heart crashing through the floor. I thought I'd figured out the reason that would send me ducking for cover this time around, but I'd been wrong. Wrapped up and ready for us. That's what he'd said. It's not just that Al Munson is in trouble. It's that B wants to use me to get out of it. If Dad gets his way, I'm not just going to be collateral damage. I'm going to be part of the explosion.
This job is as low stakes as they come.
Dad is saying, oblivious to my internal crisis.
We get to the truck, take what we want, not a ton, but enough to make a difference. Some for me, some for you.
For me, I echo through the shock. Dad grins.
Come on, you can't tell me a chunk of cash like that wouldn't change your life.
It doesn't matter what it'd do, I say. I'm not going in on this. He shakes his head just once. It's so close to fatherly disappointment that it sets the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end.
You can't make up your mind so quickly.
I can? You find someone else to hold your bag for you.
It's gotta be you, Eddie.
Why? He doesn't say anything. Just sits there, looking at me with that open, self-deprecating smile that pulled a damn chortle out of Jim Hopper, and I very abruptly cannot be in this room anymore. I stand, draining my beer in a few gulps, and wiping my mouth on my sleeve. Sofa's where you left it. I think there's still a blanket in there, too.
Sleep on it.
Dad says. He sounds so sure of himself. I imagine throwing my empty bottle at him just for a second, and have to settle for swiping back the open can of SpaghettiOs instead. Go to hell, I say, stalking towards the kitchen door.
That's in the cards, one way or another, kid.
Dad says as I turn into the hallway, so quiet that I almost miss the words.
How fast I get there is up to you.